Hey, you guys, how are you? How are you? How are you? So, listen, I just want to make sure that I am coming through. See, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hey, y'all. Thank you for coming in. Thank you so very much for coming in. So, listen, today I want to go over part three of common mistakes that um, many of you guys are making when you are making a decision to start your nonprofit organizations. Can you hear me? I see you, Gigi. Thank you for coming in. Thank you so very much for coming in. You guys, as you are coming in, please like, please share, and subscribe and subscribe. As I promised, I will be going live here every day, every day, every day, sometimes twice a day if I have the time. But my goal is to really engage with you, to really explain to you, to really help and support your nonprofit journey. Okay. That's my heart, that's my hope, and that's what we're gonna do. Okay. So if you have not um reviewed part one and two, right? This is part three. Today, I want to just lay out for you some of the common mistakes many of you all are making that is resulting in your inability to generate revenue for your nonprofit organizations. Okay. For those of you guys who've been following me for a while, you hear me say all the time, money is not your problem. Money is not your problem. Jen, I started my nonprofit, but I don't have any funding. Jen, I started a nonprofit. Um, I should be um I started my nonprofit, Jen, but I don't have any funding. Jen, I started my nonprofit, but now I'm stuck. Jen, I started my nonprofit. I don't have any donors. I don't have any funders, Jen. I'm funding everything by myself. I'm going to tell you why. Why? All right. You are not stuck without a reason. Okay. And this is what I've been talking about over parts one and two, and now going into part three. You all have started a business. Put business in the chat. Put business in the chat. You did not start a program. You started a business. I'm going to say it again for the people in the bushes. You did not start a program. You started a business, okay? And you took on the job. You took on the job of CEO. You took on the job of founder. You took on the job of executive director. And many of you are stuck because you have not or are not doing that job. You are doing the job of program, but program is just an expense. Program is just an expense. Program doesn't raise money. Program doesn't generate money. Program does not identify, program does not market to, program does not speak to those that would and could be your supporters, right? So you're not doing the job of running the organization, you are doing the job of program. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? All right. So in part one, I talked about what's a part of that job. When you decided to start your nonprofit organization, you did not lay aside, put aside, allocate the time, huh, to raise the money. You put aside the time to run that program. And again, program is an expense. But you've got to also put aside the time to generate the money. That means communications. That means marketing. That means building community. That means presenting your case for support. That means researching the grants, right? And if you don't have the time, you might not have allocated how much time is that going to take, who can do and who has that time and expertise and energy to complete that job. You cannot start a business and not know the job that's required to run the business. Now, I always talk about, I'm not interested in what y'all want to start. I am wanting to position you to be able to run the business, to sustain the business, to grow the business. That includes time. All right. And I talk about this more in detail in part one. So if you've not listened to part one, go back and listen to part one. I also talk about in part one that many of you guys have not factored in what the compliance issues are, the regulations of getting donations, registering for states, right? If that's where you're raising money, the cost of running and operating your nonprofit, you may not have taken that into account, right? The fees, the expenses, the program costs, the marketing costs, the operational expenses. Many of you started your nonprofit without taking those things into account. And because you didn't take those things into account, you're not addressing those things after you start. Again, your focus is on program, but that's not what you started. You started a business, okay? You started a business. And that business has expenses. That business has costs. That business has operational expenses. And how do we cover expenses? Revenue. So many of you started your nonprofit without taking into account the challenge and what's involved in securing consistent funding. Put consistent in the chat. Fundraisers is not consistent funding. Having a fundraiser or having an event is not consistent funding, right? Writing a grant is not consistent funding if you are not consistently writing grants or submitting grants, right? So many of you may not have taken into account what is required to secure consistent funding. And as a result of that, you are struggling with money. I said to you all the time, money is not your problem, right? Money is not your problem. But taking the time, being consistent, and the importance of strategic planning. Now, I'm not going to go through all of that. All of that is in part one. All right. So go down and listen to part one and part two. Today, I want to talk about part three. All right. Today is part three. That when you are making a decision to start your nonprofit business, when you are making the decision to start your nonprofit business, one of the things that we talked about yesterday in part two was the challenge of your team management, building your team, even if it's volunteers, even if it's, interns. You may not have factored in the importance of community. You are a community-based business. So before you go and get that piece of paper, understanding that your success relies on the community. Your donors, your funders, your partners, your supporters, your volunteers come from the community. So the importance of the advocacy that's needed and the community engagement in order for your business to thrive is essential. And many of you have not factored that in when you started. You started, again, focused on programs. So today I want to talk about part three. Today we're going to talk about your long-term vision and your plan for growth. Many of you started your nonprofit without a long-term vision, without a plan to grow financially, grow programmatically, right? Grow as it relates to your funding, grow as it relates to your supporters, right? Because if we want to grow our program, that means we need more people. How do we get more people? That's growth of communications, that's growth of visibility, that's growth of reach. The more people that know what you do, the more people that know the importance of what you do, are the people that can give to you what you do. So, what is it that is your vision? Is your vision to grow as it relates to staff? Is your vision to grow as it relates to program reach? That takes a plan. That takes a vision that's made plain through goals and objectives. And many of you only thought about the growth of the program, but the program cannot grow without the vision of the business. The program is nothing but an expense. The program is not the business. And so, if the business does not have a vision, if the business does not have the ability, the capacity, the knowledge, the resource, the reach to generate the connections, the support, the revenue, that program can't grow. And so, when you started your nonprofit, many of you did not factor in what is going to be the plan of growth. After we started, What is now the steps? What is the process to grow? What is the plan and the process that after we've gotten our startup costs covered, where is our sustainability going to come from? Where is regular revenue going to come from? How are we going to grow in the area of numbers of volunteers, the number of supporters, the number of sponsors, the number of streams of revenue? If you started the nonprofit and you're funding everything out of your own pocket, what is the vision to get out of that? And many of you did not put that into place. Am I right? Am I right? You all were so busy to start your program that you did not factor in order to grow this program, in order to expand the reach of this program, the business has to have a plan to make that happen. The program is not the business. You did not start a program. You started a business. There are two categories of business, for-profit, nonprofit. I'm going to say it again for the people in the bushes. There are two categories of business, for-profit, nonprofit. As a not-for-profit business, we are a community-based business. We are in the business of result. So what is your long-term plan to show the result, to share the evidence that what we do works, so that you can reach, so you can encourage and inspire and engage more people? That's how we grow. That's how we grow. But when you started, you didn't think about that. And that's why there's no money. It has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with the way you started. All right. The other thing that you all may not have factored in is the emotional investment. The emotional investment and the stress. Running a business, you are like an entrepreneur. Running a business can be emotionally taxing, especially when you're dealing with challenges like fundraising struggles, when you're dealing with the needs of the people that you are serving, when you're dealing with fears, right? Many of you may have a fear of speaking in public. You may have a fear of making a mistake. You may have a fear of giving up control. All them things are emotional stressors that may be causing you to hesitate, procrastinate, avoid doing some of the things that are required in the business. Building team is a requirement. Investing, investing in your business is a requirement. Learning things that you don't yet know is a requirement. And for many of you who have a problem with asking for help, many of you have a fear of failure. Many of you who just don't know how to overcome your own emotional mindset, right? The words that you say to yourself, this is not going to work. What if no one likes this? What if no one supports this, right? The emotional investment. I want you all to hear me. That we are in a business of people, other people. So when you are starting a business, that deals with people, you are having to take on the challenge of the people, the stressors, the crisis of the people that are in your program. Naturally so. But you also have to factor in the people who are your donors, who are your funders, who are your supporters. Are you emotionally capable, competent to handle the stress of planning, the risk of putting yourself out there as the lead, as the face of your organization? Are you a person that gets nervous in front of others? You don't like people. You don't like initiating conversation. You don't like walking into rooms and speaking in front of others. That's an emotional investment. You are the CEO. You are the CEO. You are the face of a business. You are not a program coordinator. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? And many of you all didn't factor that in. So you're avoiding that. And that's why you don't have any money. Money is not your problem. Money is not your problem. Okay. The next thing is that when you started your nonprofit, you did not plan for operational expenses. You didn't plan for operational expenses. Operational expenses such as staff, technology, facility, consultants. You felt like if I tell people that I need help, that we need staff, that we need experts, that it may turn off a donor. So you take those costs on yourself. Jen, I take on all the expenses. I pay for all the gas. I pay for the phone. I pay for the internet. I pay for everything out of my pocket, Jen, because I don't want a donor or a funder to feel as if I'm taking their money unjustly. However, these costs of staff, of experts, of the things that are essential, technology, training, are essential to your sustainability. But you're paying for it out of your pocket. You didn't factor it into the cost. Or you go without it because no, I gotta put all the money in the program. The whole dollar goes to program. The whole dollar goes to program. Jen, the whole dollar goes to program. But now you don't have a team. Now you're doing everything by yourself. Now you're wearing all the hats. Why? Because that's how you set it up. Everybody knows that there's a cost to run the business. Out of every dollar, 30 cents goes to operations, 70 cents goes to program, right? So you need money to operate the business. Everybody knows that. But you did not factor that in when you started. And so you assumed all of those costs. You're asking only for program help because you have some fear of appearing, well, I'm not asking for that for me. I'm not asking, of course you're not. You're asking for it to sustain the business. There are costs, there are overhead costs to run the business, right? Many of you may have started the nonprofit without positioning your organization to be ready, the need to be ready. Put ready in the chat. Many of you who started your nonprofit thinking, Jen, I was told that if I started a nonprofit, I could get a grant. Jen, I was told that if I started a nonprofit, I could get a grant. But what you did not factor in when you started the nonprofit is what are going to be items or information that's going to make you grant ready. The documentation, the information that's going to make you grant ready. You just thought if I start my nonprofit, I can get a grant. If I start my nonprofit, I can get a grant. But what you did not factor in is what is going to be needed and required for me to be grant ready. I didn't put that in the I didn't consider that, Jen. What is going to be needed? Your financials, a budget, measurable outcomes, right? A clear and concise mission statement, a board, right? Outcomes, goals, and objectives. You didn't factor that in. And so now, Jen, I got my nonprofit. I need a grant. Well, Jen, how come I'm not getting a grant? Jen, I've been trying to get a grant, but I can't get a grant. No, Jen, I don't have financials. No, Jen, I don't have my 990s. We did the postcard because you weren't factoring in what was going to be essential and needed for you to get a grant. Am I right? Am I right? Okay. Many of you may not have realized that you are in a competitive business. When you started your nonprofit, you did not take into fact the reality of competition, other nonprofits may already exist in the same space. So that means you are competing for the same donors and resources. So you did not factor in how do our organization set our program apart? How do we fill a void that's not already being made or filled? Many of you don't even take that into consideration because you're starting the nonprofit because of you, right? Then, Jen, this is what I went through. Then, Jen, this is what my experiences is. Jen, this is what I want to start. And so I'm starting a nonprofit because I was told I could get a grant to do what I want to do. I want to mentor. I want to feed. I want to help the homeless, even though that there may be other programs that are doing the exact same thing. So what does that mean? You did not factor in the reality of competition. That those organizations, those programs that already exist, you're competing for the same donors, for the same resources. You didn't take that into consideration, right? So that when you built your nonprofit, when you designed your program, that you are meeting your own niche, that you're not doing what the person down the street is doing, that you're setting yourself apart. Many of you didn't take that into consideration. Also, many of you did not take into consideration the role of professional development. You are the CEO, you are the executive director, that your professional development to run the organization, your knowledge, your competence, your capacity to lead an organization, to lead a business, to put together a team, including your board. Now, I know many of you put your mother, your brother, your dog, your cat, your fish on your board. They don't have professional development either. They don't know how to fundraise. They don't know best practices. They don't know the trends or how to. They don't know how to put together the plan because they've never done it and you've never done it. So the role of investing in professional development. Why? Because again, you're competing with organizations that have professionals that are doing the job. Those organizations that have been around, they got professional grant writers. They got professional fundraisers. They've got professionals that have experience and expertise in these areas of sustaining the business. Many of you didn't even know that people could go to school and get a PhD in nonprofit management. That's a PhD. You got to get, there's an educational system. And many of you that are going into this business, you have no professional development. You're not getting mentoring. You're not taking classes. You're not learning how your organization should put together plans and strategies. You're just winging it. And you're expecting to compete with those that know how. You didn't take that into consideration. All right. Listen, in this good year of the 20 and the 25, I just want to make sure that those of you that decide to start a nonprofit, that you understand what you're starting. And that not only do you understand what you're starting, but you understand what it's going to take to grow it, to sustain it, to run the business, not just your program, because you did not start a program. You started a business. You started a business. Okay. There are two categories of business: for profit, nonprofit. Your business is not only your program. The business, the nonprofit has the mission. The nonprofit has the mission. The nonprofit markets, fundraises, does the budgeting. The program accomplishes the mission of the business. The program is not the business. The program is not what you started. The program accomplishes the mission of the business. That means you are the executive director of the business, not the program. And if you've never done that job, you need professional development. You need to understand, you need to know what is required to successfully sustain and grow the business. Because without that, the program can't exist. If there's no money coming into the business, if there's no money coming into the business, the money comes to the business. The business bank account. It's not a program bank account, it's a business bank. The money comes into the business. If there is no money coming into the business, this program can't exist. There's no money for the program. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? So the idea of I can start a nonprofit and not know how to run the business is crazy. It's not realistic, which is why 87 out of 100 of you are struggling. I don't know, Jen. I don't know how to put together a board. I don't know how to fundraise, Jen. I don't know how to put together a budget, Jen. I don't know. I don't know how to find funders and donors, Jen. I don't know how to fundraise. I don't know. I don't know. All the things that you need to know as the CEO, all the things that you need to know as the executive director, you just don't know. And you think that you can run a business not knowing the job of running the business? You think you can get away with not knowing that? Which is why 87 out of 100 of you are struggling financially. You're trying to do everything by yourself. When you started, you did not take into account the challenge of leadership and delegation. Some of y'all don't trust anybody, right? I started my nonprofit, Jen, but I don't trust anybody. I don't trust people, Jen. I don't trust people. I don't trust people with my idea. I don't trust people, Jen, to tell them what we're doing. I don't trust the board. That's why I put my mother, my brother, my dog, my cat, my fish on the board, because I don't trust people. But as a leader, you then try to do everything on your own, which leads to what? Burnout. Which leads to what? Discouragement. Which leads to what? Now I'm stuck, but I don't know how to get unstuck. I don't have anybody around me who is equipped, who is trained, who has more knowledge, who can help us get out of this ditch. You don't know how to delegate or what to delegate. You don't know how to build a team and what's required to build that team. And that is critical for your long term success. But you started the program thinking that's all I need is to run my program. My passion is enough. No, you got to delegate. Otherwise, it's impossible for one person to build a house. It's impossible for one person to build a house. Somebody has to know how to lay the foundation. Somebody's got to know the electrical, right? Somebody needs to know what are required for the weight measurements distribution to put the roof on this thing. You're trying to build it by yourself. And that is not going to lead to long-term success. I don't care how passionate you are. The other thing that you did not take into consideration is the importance of effective communication. Clearly communicating, effectively communicating with your stakeholders, your donors, your board members, your volunteers, fostering trust, fostering collaboration, matching their interests and not just yours as my passion, my passion, my passion, mine, 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 mine. Effective communication, negotiation, right? Able to communicate even when people don't agree. Sharing your vision and making it plain. Navigating other people's perspectives. Not taking offense against others, even when they're mad at you. You still got to lead them. When they don't agree with you, you still got to be the leader, right? You've got to be able to communicate and put things back on path when people are not performing, when people are underperforming, when people are not living up to their obligations. You've got to be the one to address it. You've got to be the one to straighten it out. That's your job. And not hold a grudge. And not hold a grudge. You've got to be in position to continue to work with people, people's personalities, people's tendencies, and stay the course for the mission's sake. Many of you all didn't take that into consideration. You didn't think about the difficulty of scaling your program, expanding the program and services that requires planning, funding, resources, which can be more challenging than you anticipated. I just want you all to think about these things, that money is not your problem. The problem is that many of you started a nonprofit business without taking into account all that is required and should be known when you started. That's all I'm saying, right? The importance and the impact of external factors, the economy, government policies, donor priorities, right? Emergencies, unforeseen, people leaving, people quitting, external factors that can affect your success. You must be prepared to pivot, to adapt. That comes with knowledge, right? Listen, my favorite right now is COVID, Jen. After COVID, which was 5 years ago, by the way. COVID, Jen. When COVID came, well, COVID was 5 years ago. How have you overcome that external factor? Did you have a plan before COVID? That was an external factor. Economic downturn. You can't foresee an emergency. But your job as the CEO, your job as the executive director is to navigate, to overcome those risks. And many of you did not and have not learned how to bounce back from those external factors. You didn't take that into account when you started. My point is this, that as you are endeavoring to start your nonprofit organization, and in order for your organization to have a strong foundation and to increase your chances of long-term success, all right, not just startup success, but long-term success. Not just, Jen, this is what I want to do, but Jen, after I retire, this is going to continue. Please take these things into account. Please take these things into account. You are the executive director. You are the CEO. You are the leader. You are the lid. You can't start a business and then say, I don't know. Your name is on the dotted line. You're the boss. And if there is something that you don't know, but could know, you're going to make a decision not to know. You're going to make a decision not to have the training and the knowledge gain that you should to be as strong a leader as possible. You can't afford to know what you don't know. but you want to start a business and you want others to support your business. You want the donor, you want the funder, you want the grant to give you money. They think that you know what you're doing. You guys like this live. Like this live. Please like this live. As you are watching, please like this live. Okay? Like this live. Ask your questions. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have any thoughts. I am a person, I've been doing this work now for 38 years. This year is 39. All right. I am a nonprofit expert. I don't just talk about this stuff. I have run nonprofits. I have led nonprofits. It was my job to help 1,000 organizations put together plans and strategies, systems and tools um, for their nonprofit organizations. This is what I do. And it is my hope, it is my hope, it is my heart, it is my endeavor that those of you that say, Jen, I want to start my nonprofit, that you also have an interest in not just starting it, but you also have an interest in how you're going to sustain it, how you're going to grow it, how you're going to fund it over time, how you're going to ensure that it has what it needs to sustain itself. That's also a part of what you should want, right? That's also a part of what you should want for it. Am I making sense? Am I making sense? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Okay. Listen, as your nonprofit expert, one of the things that I am excited about are the trainings. I'm excited about the opportunity that you have to not just know what it takes to begin this process, but how do you grow this process, right? How do you reach more people? How do you serve more people? How do you ensure that the organization that you started has the knowledge, the resources, and the information to sustain itself? Okay. So I will be coming here to answer your questions. What is the question? It says, any recommendation on trainings and books and extensions to get on the right track? Yes. So right now, I am in the throes of a 10-day fundraising training right now. I'm also have a list of trainings and books and guides that are available to you. I just posted in the comments or in the description my link tree. Okay, my link tree has trainings that I have coming up. My link tree has books and guides that are available to you. I recommend that everyone gets my nonprofit startup guide. All right, this is my link tree here. If you want the nonprofit startup guide, let me put it in the comments. Nonprofit startup guide. It is magic. Everything that you need to know about the nonprofit, about what a nonprofit is, about how to start your fundraising plan. How do you get a donor? How do you get the second gift? How do you put together your budget? How do you identify who your ideal donors are? How to create a case for support? It has in there how to put together your strategic plan. It has it, and it comes with a 2 hour and 17-minute video on how do you start your nonprofit and with the resources. How do you get the resources for your nonprofit business? All that's in there. It talks about risk management. It talks about how to find board members, how to interview board members, what board members should be able to provide to your organization to help you raise money. All that's in the nonprofit startup guide. Okay. So everything that you need is in that guide. It is the best. I've written several books. Okay. I've written several books And that one by far has everything, right? This was my first book. The Guide to Grant Writing Success was my first book. My second book was Guide to Fundraising Success. My third book was Nonprofit Startup to Sustainability. My fourth book that I was a part of is Nonprofits, Blacks and Nonprofits, the Grant Writing Edition. My fifth book that I wrote was how to raise money for your nonprofit organization every single day of the year. Okay. So I have written several books in my 38 years in this business, but by far, the nonprofit startup guide is the best thing that's out there. It has everything that you need to know about the nonprofit. Okay. Once I get the guide and get started on that, what is next? Should I be doing training? You should really be having a training on the role of the executive director. Okay. Many of you know your role and your position of running the program, but many of you don't know or have the role of what do I need to be doing as the executive director to lead the organization in the area of funding, of strategy, of clarity, of diversifying funding streams. So I have a several coaching sessions. I have group coaching and I have one-on-one coaching. So it really depends on your style and your preference. I offer one-on-ones. I offer group coaching. It just really depends on your preference. Some people say, Jen, I need one-on-one. I need you to customize the language and the strategy for my organization. Now, why is that important? Once your strategy has been developed, then all you got to do is work the strategy, right? And then I provide access to me even after the strategy has been provided, right? So we work together one on one, we put together your strategy, but then I'm still available for questions, right? I'm still available that if you have a question, if you have a hiccup, I'm still available to you. So I'm not going to put you in a group, put a bunch of now I do have those groups. All right. So if a group setting is what you prefer, but this is what that looks like. You get in a group, the person gives you videos, and you basically have to learn on your own. And then they show up once a week and maybe answer a question that you know to ask and hope that you know to ask, right? Um, my method is you have to know the job, not just the information. You have to know how to do the job. So in our one-on-one sessions, I lay out this is what's required for your job. You got to do these things. This is how much time that's going to take to do the job. And if you have questions about doing the job after our time, right? You can have one-on-one session with me. You can have a several group, one-on-ones with me. It's up to you. But you still have access to me afterwards for questions, for clarity, right? If you go anywhere and get a job, you have to know the job. Or someone shows you how to do the job. If there is no one in your life that has showed you how to do the job of being the executive director, you cannot expect to be successful at that job. I give you the opportunity to learn the job, right? I've done the job for 38 years. It was my job to train 1,000 nonprofit executive leaders, nationally and internationally. That was my job. I'm a professional fundraiser. I am a grant writer. I am a nonprofit strategist. I teach this in colleges and business incubators. So, teaching people how to be effective nonprofit leaders has been my job, has been my career. And that's what I do. So, I come into these spaces to help you, to share with you, to show you how to do it, right? I can tell you what to do, but information and knowledge comes from experience. Knowledge comes from experience. Information alone without the experience to execute the information is going to leave you stuck. So I want to be able to give you information and I want to be able to share with you knowledge. Is that all right? Okay. So if you guys are interested, I'm always going to say get the nonprofit startup guide. I have lots of I have lots of guides. Um I have lots of books. I have lots of opportunities to learn. Right now, I'm in the throes of a 10-day fundraising challenge where I'm walking people through how to set up their fundraising strategy rather. Um, so yeah, everything that you need. I am your nonprofit expert. I am your nonprofit expert. I have videos, I have books, I have guides. I offer one-on-ones as well. All right. If you go to my link tree, the information is there. Um, and I can help you in any phase of where you are. There is nothing that you are going through. There's no program that you have that I've not raised money for. I really am a professional fundraiser. Okay. Right. You're starting from ground zero. Awesome. I would say go through my videos. Um, I've got videos here. I've got a podcast. Let me give you the information for my podcast. It's called Nonprofit Nuggets with Jennifer Yarbrough is my podcast. You've got lots of places and spaces to listen to me ad nauseum um, about this subject matter. Fully immerse yourself into it before you start it. Okay. Understand what you know, understand what you don't know that you don't know that you don't know. Okay, because again, it is a competitive business. Are there any other questions, any other comments, any other questions? I want to thank you guys for sharing. I want to thank you for liking. And I want to thank you all for subscribing. I hope that there is information that I have shared today. And if there's something that you would like for me to cover, if there was something that you would like for me to speak about specifically, um, I'm happy to do that as well. All right. So if you are listening to the replay and you say, Jen, do you have any information or can you come alive and explain this or that? Put it in the comments. I'm happy to do that. I will be coming live here every day. All right. My plan is to come live here every day. I'm on the West Coast. So normally around 10 o'clock my time, 1 o'clock Eastern. It is my goal to be live here. And then later in the afternoon, 5 o'clock Eastern. I'm sorry, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern as well. For those of you that are tied up in the mornings, you guys can catch me in the evenings, but my replays will be here. So your subscription, you're subscribing, you're turning on your notifications so that you are alerted that I'm live or at least have the opportunity to watch the replay. My goal in this year is to help those of you that started your nonprofit, and of that, 87 of you are either self-funded or operating on a budget of less than 30, possibly $50,000. Okay, 87 of you are stuck, and it's not because of money. It's because of the things that I've laid out today. All right. I want to move 1,000 of you from that place over to the 13. The 13 that are well equipped, that are prepared, that are positioned, and are doing the work of not just having an effective program, but have the resources to cover the cost. Because without the resources and those costs being covered, that program cannot exist. That impact cannot be reached. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So, with knowledge, with clarity, with support, with help, that's going to move you expeditionally as it relates to money. Money is not your problem, it's lack of knowledge. I don't know how to put together a budget, Jen. I don't know how to fundraise, Jen. I don't know how to put my board together, Jen. I don't know where to start, Jen. I'm stuck. I don't know how to get unstuck. Jen, I don't know where to begin. Jen, I didn't know I needed to know that. Jen, I don't know how to train my board. Jen, I don't know. All the things that you don't know is what's got you stuck. It has nothing to do with money. It's what you don't know. And in many cases, it's what you don't know that you don't know that you don't know. That if you don't know what you don't know, you don't even know to ask. If you don't know what you don't know, you don't even know what to make that a priority. You just don't know. I'm here to share some things that you may not have thought about. I'm here to help you to see what you don't know that you don't know that's got you stuck. And that has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with your plan, your knowledge of how, and your process to raise the money. All right. I am your nonprofit expert, over 38 years of experience. Okay. This has been my entire career. I started out as an intern. I started out as an intern writing grants. And then I went on to raise money. That was my job. Okay. It was my job. And then I became the director of development. And then I became the executive director of many nonprofits. And then it became my job to help 1,000 organizations nationally and internationally raise money for their nonprofits. So I come here to share my knowledge. I come here to offer coaching. I come here to give you insight. I come here to equip you so that your organization can be competitive, so that your organization can compete to get the resources that are available to help the people in your community, to have the impact that you desire and the sustainability that not only you deserve, but that your community deserves, so that there is no interruption in your program. All right. Thank you all so very much for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for those that are going to watch the replay. I appreciate you as well. Thank you for those of you that like. Thank you for those of you that invite and share this with others. If you have other nonprofit leaders who are stuck, who are struggling, please share this link with them. Okay. And thank you for those of you that are subscribing. I'm on my way to 1,000 subscribers. Will you help me? Will you help me reach 1,000 subscribers? If I give you value, if I explain clearly, if I have given you information that is not only encouraging but insightful, please share this. Please share this and please subscribe. I appreciate you. I'll be back later. All right. I'll be back later. Um, and I'm on the other places and sites as well. You guys can have that information in the comments. And I look forward to being your nonprofit expert, to helping you gain in knowledge and clarity, competence in doing your job as the CEO. All right, as the CEO. I will see you guys later. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.